God, hopefully people can hear me. There we go. I don't even know if people are on yet. I know I'm late running on this thing. You can hear me, thank you. I can't see what you're doing. I don't think anybody's even on anyway. I got a new phone, that's why part of the delay. You have to log on to different stuff. I have 26 people watching. Sorry, there's some other crap going on. If you don't open your email ever or your laptop very often, then you open it, all of a sudden you get watch. Sorry, there's some other. I gotta mute this one. My bad. Picking up that noise. Here we go. YouTube. Let's see. Big D, good to see you. Boy Short, love your content. Well, I love you too, Chief Corey. I'm sure that's who you are, I hope anyway. If you have a question, feel free to ask. I probably will give a horrible answer, but ask it anyway. A little stuff, since this will wait till more people actually start watching, because I got 29. Rick Hopfinger, good to see you too. Oh, what's going on with this? Glad I brought out my phone because it doesn't look like the laptop's going to work today. From the Ford video from yesterday, here's what happened. So I poured it too much, it broke through obviously. Well, last night I stayed out till like 1 o'clock up here working on this thing. So what I did was I used some modeling. First I used modeling clay and I tried shaping, putting it where on the short side where I thought it would benefit the most. And I kept flowing it and reflowing it to see how much it would lose or gain or whatnot. So I was messing with one side and then I messed with the other side of the short side, raising it up, down, that sort of thing. In the end, I think it turned out it's pretty good, but trying to do two things at once. But here's the latest. I'm really sorry. I've got the screen here. I'm trying to get loaded so I can actually see comments. All I guess I can look on the phone. So I'll just look on the phone through it. But no, Bobby, I don't pour cast iron heads. So thanks for tuning in because I'm like the most boring person ever. So I don't know why anybody would tune in to me for you 23 people. But anyway, I started off with modeling clay and I kept building up one side. And the only reason why I did this is because like probably a couple weeks ago on this SR20 head, did the same thing, broke through on the short side. That runner design is similar to what the Ford layout is. So what I ended up doing is filling it up, but it actually got to gain more. You might say, why didn't you start off doing that? Well, trick flow, when I got this head, it was already CNC ported from trick flow. So it already had the stuff done. So you can't put material back. You could take it away, but you can't put it back, obviously. So fooling with the modeling clay and whatnot, I could see what it was doing because the modeling clay is temporary. So this is, in case you wanted, this is modeling clay. You can do it. No, it doesn't come out of the port or nothing in the flow bench. Would I trust it for digitizing? No, because you could push your finger into it, so it's not firm enough. But what it did do is it gave me a guidance of where to go with the short side. So after that, this morning I put on some epoxy on that short side and got it the shape I want. And then by chance, and I got very, very lucky on this deal, Trick Flow got a hold of me and they said they do have a set of porter's castings, and I'm a Trick Flow dealer, so I'm gonna have to buy these, but luckily they have them, so I'm happy. And they said they think they can get it to me on Monday. I'm essentially done with the model, so I can have that re-digitized and done through. I haven't had a chance to talk to Chris today. Yesterday he said to do whatever he can to help me. But I did say I want to go out there to Tennessee to see how it's done because actually there's some, I like to work with them so we make sure we get on the same page as that program. So the disadvantage of doing it like this, from the cam challenge, it really makes no difference. I mean, besides that some of the data is going to be a little bit off. As far as the flow numbers, by the way, that was the weird part too. From a tenth of an inch valve lift all the way to 700, it's almost the same, with the exception being 700. It's 10 CFM up better on the previous design. After 700, the new design is the same or better. So it's a weird thing. But anyway, I want to go to Tennessee and work with, I think his name's Billy, and work with him on that digitizing program. I know he knows what he's doing, but I want to make sure we're on the same page as far as what I want done compared to what he's doing or whatnot. So whether it be step over or the transition between the short side and all that. Also, I want to have him overlay the last port versus this port after it's digitized, so you can see how much was actually added. So, long story longer. You guys must have better questions than what's coming up here. Not sure if the correct, but the volume is a bit low. I don't know. I've got my thing in. Are you guys having a hard time hearing me? If you are, can you put it in the comments besides ICT carry? I cannot believe there's not more comments. Last time was like popping, like constant question after question. Todd Scaloli, nice to see you in Michigan. Nice to see you too. I know I'm an ugly face. I believe by chance. So after doing that video and I was talking about tariffs, I think I lost like 20 subscribers. Which like, oh, that's what you get. Probably. But I was just saying you need to buy heads, but whatever. Anyway, so by chance I went and looked at the analytics. And what I did was I looked at the analytics. This is phenomenal to me because I guess I should have studied this better. It tells what city that most people viewed me. The top 5 cities, the 3 of those are in Australia. So it's not even America. So if you're watching from Australia, thank you. Sydney was like number 1. It was a little eye-opening to me. Okay, Ron Priest. How do the Project X 210s compare to the heads on the 408 now? The 408, you're talking about the Windsor, I hope. That Ford. Those are the Project X 210s. I just didn't order them from Promax. There's a guy named Steven Sun over in China who actually sells them to Promax. He sells them to another guy too, but they're different. So the port is the same, but there's differences in different things on the head. Like the outside doesn't look quite the same. The guy I get them from uses 8mm stuff, so I use 8mm stuff. It makes the head cost more doing 8mm. That's why Promax went away from 8mm and went to 11/32. It is a bit hard to hear. Let me take these out and put them back in. Is it any better? Denton Motorsports, can you hear me any better? If it's worse, I don't know. I literally got new phones because I was like, this sucks. I won't be able to get a new phone, and I've got the oldest phone in the family, and its battery doesn't last the whole day. That sucked. Any updates on the Nova? If you bear with me as I complain, I have been trying all week to do one thing on the Nova, and it's not even a hard thing. I just want to put down a sound deadening insulation. And I'm like, I'm going to start the day. I'll do it real quick. Then I'll get to grinding. Every single day, something has come up where it took away the time and I didn't get a chance to even get it done. All day, every day. So there's been no progress. It's very frustrating. Joe Carroll has the S10 going. I need to do an oil change and I need to hook up the external shift light. I should be good. It'll probably give me some kind of problem too. Glad it's better. Thank you. Have you flowed the Stevenson 210 CNC heads? Yes, it's what I'm selling right there. That's the Easter special. And by the way, after Easter, I'm going up. I probably should have done that before because I totally forgot about the credit card fees when I put that price on. So it's $1,650, but in all fairness, I don't even get that because the credit card fee takes out it. So I get taxed anyway. Rick Hoplinger. Can you approve the AFR 195 street eliminator heads with additional porting? Would cost outweigh the benefits? Yes, I can approve them. I used to port those all the time when they were cheaper.
That used to be one of my most popular heads because I could port it. I think I was charging less for porting back then. Partly we were like, well, it's because you got too expensive. It's because everything got more expensive. But I used to port that head and it would be cheaper than buying the competition ported head of theirs. And I used to sell a lot of those. And they were really good. But that went out the window because one, AFR raised their prices, and two, I had to raise my prices because of bills. So like electricity went up. Um, Insurance is, I wish that somebody in the government would talk about getting the insurance down because my God, it's killing me. Sorry to rant. Bill Brennick, he's, by the way, the Ford Dyno Mule guy. Can you explain why you would not want the biggest heads you can afford? Like what situation or specs would dictate choosing a smaller head to make more power, drag racing in mind? Um, I usually just size the heads for the RPM that the motor is going to turn. And I know there's a huge thing where like people are like, well, you know, you need a certain size for the RPM, which is exactly what I'm right. But some people want them smaller so you can build more torque. But in my experience from the drag strip stuff, you could size them slightly larger, and on the drag strip, it actually goes better. It's, but I never tell customers that because then they hear slightly larger and they think, let's make it the biggest one. And then they just have a turd. But it really depends on your engine. When I'm talking about slightly larger, let's say you had a 350, right? And you're turning 7,000 RPM. I'm just going to use generic off the shelf heads just for explanation. You could get away with running the AFR 195 and on that drag race deal with 355, turn to 7,000. But in all fairness, you'll go faster with a 210. But if I said you need something bigger, people would put on something huge. For the record, I did experiments that. That's the reason why that 355 that was in the S10, that intake volume was 242 cc's on a 350. I loved it. Anyway, Nitro Man, how does the Stevenson 210 CNC small block Chevy flow? You should go back and watch a couple of videos before when I told about the cell because I showed the flow numbers. Duster Garage, the small block Ford Dynamo, did you say it had hydraulic roller cam with solid roller lifters? What springs are you running on those heads? Seat pressures, open pressures. Thank you. Okay. Bill Brennick, he supplied the short block, but he also had that trick flow cam. That's a hydraulic roller cam. It's really meant to be ran with hydraulic roller lifters. I didn't want to buy any, and he had solid roller lifters. So I ran that on it. So that's what I ran. In case of spring pressures, and I don't know if I would recommend anybody ever doing this because it's a lot of spring pressure, but it's the springs I had. They were 245 on the seat and about 595 open. It's a lot. No problems, but I also understood it's only going to make like 6 pulls, and I'm changing the cam to a solid roller. Not that I think it's the only thing that would make me even somewhat concerned about doing it. By the way, is what kind of core that hydraulic roller cam is ground on. If it's a billet core, it's probably never going to be an issue. If you ground it like on the Sadie core, that's like this. I'm probably saying it wrong, so some cam guy's going to correct me. Is some cast stuff that they did a special heat treatment for that's used to be much cheaper, those cores. They can't take the same spring pressures. I don't think people even sell those anymore because last I heard during COVID, they were one hard to find and they got more expensive just buying billet. So hopefully that answers yours. How about head sizing for circle track instead of drag racing? And that comes from Big Deal. That's a great thing. This is what makes that, I got to put this in, I'm going to keep playing with it. That's what makes this circle track engine kind of a different deal. And I can't wait to do more testing on that. I actually look forward to doing more of the circle track testing than some of this other stuff that I'm doing because my roots are probably more based in that. It really depends on the driver and the track. And hear me out on this. If you're a quarter-mile racetrack, right? And by the way, I personally hate quarter-mile racetracks. I thoroughly do. Really, it's just survival. That's what it feels like to me because you're just in a wreck fest, it feels like. But whatever. Let's say you're actually really trying to be competitive on a quarter mile. You don't have a whole lot of straightaway at all. So your high-end horsepower where your power would dominate them, you don't get to use enough of it. So most of your power comes from getting out of the corners. And more of your quickness on the track really comes from whoever's tuning your chassis. That's it. So you want to be good at a quarter mile track. You don't even need a lot of power. Only fancy engine builders will tell you that you need more power, but you don't. On a quarter-mile track, you just need a handle. Now you start getting in these 3/8 high banks at half mile. Now things are changing. So on the head side, it kind of changes because of that. Do you see what I'm saying? The other thing is, like people are like, I need more torque. I need more torque. It also depends on what racing class you are, because that tire can only take so much. Because I don't know how many times I've seen an engine that only makes like 500 horsepower, and you have another guy that's making 7, and that 500 horsepower car looks like he's got 700, and the other guy looks like he's got 500 because he's just hooking up. He's flat foot the whole way. He just goes. I love circle track. Rob, would you recommend AFR 300 oval ports for 496 street strip? I would, but I'd also say why. If you're doing that, so like on a 496, here's my preferences, but you're welcome to whatever. If you're just doing a street cruiser and you're doing a 496 and you don't want to have to worry about headers, you do the Brodux Race Right 270. You're like, I'd like to get spicy with that. You have me port the Race Right 270s. If you're like, I'm really racing and I don't care about height, I'm like, fine, we'll do AFR 305. And you're like, but I want to win. I'll port the AFR 305. You notice I didn't say 290 or 300 in there, because the 290, that's a raised up exhaust port. It will beat the 270 Race Right ported just because of its exhaust port height. But a lot of people can't get it to clear. But that's the only part where it favors. If you port a 305, it's going to beat it. You're like, why don't you prove that on a dyno? It's hard to get those heads. I should also point out AFR's heads in general, the big blocks are still cast in America by Buddy Bar. At least they were. I think they were trying to move production overseas for that, because the castings were better. Just saying. Chris Allman, all Sadie cores I'm aware of come from CWC Foundry in Muskogee, Michigan. That material is about 2/3 of the way between nodular iron and steel. There you go. Nate Dalton, planning to rebuild a 350 in my GMC 1500 street performance, aiming for maybe 400 to 450, definitely leaning towards AFR eliminators. Would you suggest 180 or 195? Peak horsepower around 6,000. You're probably referring to the new AFR eliminator heads that I've only seen at trade shows. I think they make a lot of power, but there's a guy I work with at AFR, and he's really great to deal with, but he hasn't sent me out ones to test. And I'm sure eventually a customer might buy one from me. Yes, I'm an AFR dealer, but I don't know. I need a test with them. But I'm sure that they're in the same position where they're like, we don't even have any heads right now. Or we should probably hold on the heads we have because we don't know when we're going to get any ends because those enforcers are from China. So anyway, Hot Rod Yeehaw. Yep, I love the old Dukes of Hazzard reference. Hey, Bobby, here's something interesting if you're still watching. So that motor, that 406 that we died on last week, it'll be another video for you guys want to see. Excuse me while I drink. So I'm going to put up the graph. It made about 5 horsepower more now, but it had 2 points less of compression now. But it actually still made relatively the same peak power numbers, like at the peak RPM. I really would have thought your cam with the more duration would have peaked it even higher. But in all fairness, though, Bobby, your camshaft, it never noses over. It just keeps going. It's so much so that the customer that was with me is like, we need to call it, just stop it. Because it'd make like 705 and then just 706, 703, 705. It just like rides it. It's a very interesting deal. But anyway. Joe Carl, what's your next project to hit the dyno? I'm going to take that circle track engine. I'm staring at it right now. That guy, that is such a sad story. I don't know if I even mentioned on the thing. There's this, I know I jump around. You guys hate that. My ADD in my brain. I used to port my heads out of this 3-car garage in my shop at my house. So anyway, this guy, he hit me up, and this is when I was doing cast iron then, and he was running circle track, and he wanted some darts ported, and I ported them, and I mean, I was really, really happy with them and everything. Anyway, it was like I don't know, like, and then 2 days later, he calls me up because it broke a valve and destroyed everything. And this is the first time I'd ever dealt with a guy. And I felt bad. I was like, "Oh my god, what'd I do wrong?" And I was using SI valves back then. So anyway, he sent the valve to University of Tulsa guy here because there's University of Tulsa's here, and they did a whole metallurgy thing, and the metal all checked out and everything. 2 years later, it finds out that the engine builder installed the dome backwards. What I mean by is the intake pocket was on the exhaust pocket side, and that's what hit. It didn't have any piston in the valve. But anyway, so I poured up a whole new head for him during this time, thinking I had messed up, and he went out and ran, won a lot of races, did fantastic. It was amazing. Anyway, he stepped up and kept getting faster. They had bounties on him. Like, it was amazing. He kept getting faster, decided to go to AMOD. And AMOD it's IMCA. It's really, really hard. Like, you got to be on your game. And they struggled really hard. So they went from dominating in factory stock, went to Grand National, struggled a little bit, started winning a lot. Went to IMCA, AMOD, struggled for like a year or so. And then they got the handle on it. And then this engine, I did the top end for him because it used to be a Mullen short block, and I did the whole top end, put it all together. We dynoed it, and he started winning. He was really good in the start of the year, but his crew chief was his brother, and he was smart, but he always wanted to play with stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna flash forward to make a long story shorter. It was a race, and I think he finished sixth. It wasn't even bad, and he came in from the pits, or came into the pits, and he just started yelling at his brother. And his brother, by the way, at the time was my boss. And I thought, "Ooh, this isn't going to go good." But it didn't go good. He just loaded up the car and drove it out of the track, and they never raced again. I don't think he talked to his brother for a year. It was sad. And then they ended up selling the car, and that engine had been sitting there for 2 years. It was like, just take, because after my 406 went down, I was like, "You still got that 421? I like to use it for testing." He goes, "Nah, I'm really like to sell it." Anyway, last weekend I called him up. He's like, "Why don't you come get this engine?" So that's the engine I'm testing. My goal, and I told him, "You find a car to put it in. There's no reason the two of you can't work together again." So my goal is to get this thing as good as I can. And I just want to do money races. I told him that. I want to do that back then. I don't care about the points. I don't care about the politics of any of that racing around trying to make factories, running a points championship. I just want to go for money races because that's always been my best times ever. There's a 10,000 to win street stock race. It was needed every year. They had 140 cars show up. It was $100 to enter. You want to be a badass. That's where you win. So I want to do that. I want to see them do that. So anyway, long story longer. I didn't get a lot of questions anyway. Trade a pallet of RC colos for a set of heads. Right now, it probably costs that much. In your experience, what's the highest compression ratio you can safely run on 91 octane? I haven't found a limit. You're asking the wrong guy, because that's a problem. People will quote stuff I said as if it was gospel, and yeah, I feel bad. So, like, I don't know. I think we did. I know for sure I've done 12 to 1. But I think, actually, I take that back. I've done 14.5 to 1 because I used to, the Camaro was like 14.5 to 1 when it had small block in it. And I just put like regular gas in it and just tootle around the neighborhood, but I'd open it up. The key is with the timing and stuff. It's so many different factors, but you can't use that as universal thing. If I said 12 to 1, people are like, "Well, Eric said he could do 12 to 1. Everything's fine." There's so many different factors that play a part in that. And a timing computer makes a big difference. I'm not talking fuel injection. I'm talking timing computer. Something with you could do it with an MSD box. Programmable one will do it, but not straight locked out. I mean, we do it on the dyno. It never hurts anything. That's what makes me even more mad is I don't know. I mean, I'll read people's comments as if I don't test. Remember, I don't. I try to never comment on stuff unless I've actually done it. So I have people in the comments be like, "You can't run 11.5 to 1 on pump gas." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how many of these engines we've done now have been 11.5 to 1 straight locked out time at 38 degrees at 4,000 RPM, just all the way." So it did make a difference. So I don't have an answer, Ron. Sorry. Christopher C. Have a factory stock 1980 454 C30 with 456 gears. I thought about getting more modern cam. Any preferences on roller lifter conversions for peanut ports? Lifters are high, but Johnson seems to be the preferable hydraulic roller. I did buy some of the new Comp Evolution with that, whatever they got in that little pill or something that's on the inside. I was going to try those, but the 383 short block is still not together, and that's partly my fault. Daniel Powell's supposed to be doing a cam, and I just haven't got it from him yet. Not rushing him because I ain't even got time to put the thing together anyway. And I don't have the heads done, come to think of it, so no. But I'm going to try those Comp Evolution lifters on that. James Michelet. Just who I was looking for. Can you flow a set of W9 heads for me? I can't. I don't have the flow fixture. So, that one ain't going on there. I don't even know if you can see on the camera, but this part right here, that's the plate that bolts it down. I don't own that for the Mopar. Like, wait a minute, I have seen you do a small block Mopar. Yeah, that's because this guy let me borrow it. And I feel bad I keep borrowing it because last time I had it for like months. I felt guilty. But yeah, there you go. Please ask more questions because I hate rambling. I am the worst about it, as you know from videos, from my tens of fans. If you'll buy the plate, I'll flow it. They don't bother me. But these plates, so bear with me as I tell the cost because don't quote me on this. Brzezinski is the one that used to make this. If you're in the circle track, you'll know the name. They did all the cast heads, and they had their undercover porting and stuff, whatever. Anyway, they're the ones that made all these flow fixtures. And I swear to God, they made more on these flow fixtures than they probably did porting the heads. So back when I got this one, it was $369. Then they sold the business, which I'm surprised they were able to someone bought it. But whatever. I don't have a clue what those plates cost now. So James, that thing's probably $600, and it could be more. But if you buy the plate, I'll flow it. I've got a 4155 bore and a 4030 bore. Chances are you want those float on a 4155 bore. Randy Rothweiler, I hope I said that right. Would the 210s work well enough on a 377 75 millimeter torque storm? Yeah, not a problem. That torque storm is pretty good. So, yeah. Carlito's Way. What's going on with the Holley Big Block Chevy High Ram EFI intake model? Anyone got one shipped yet? I don't know. I haven't seen it at all, besides at the trade show. Jake Black, update on Big Block Cam Challenge. Right now, I'm so sung up on the Ford Cam Challenge that I can't even make it that far. I have absolutely zero pieces for the Big Block Ford Chevy Cam Challenge. So God knows when that would happen. So I did think if I hadn't blown up the blower motor, I was just going to use the 565. What I was going to do is, that's in the Camaro. What I was going to do is pull off the heads, change the pistons, and run my SR20 head on it and run it like that because it's already got the adjustable belt drive. That wouldn't be a big deal. But I don't know. I kind of wanted something bigger. The DN9s are actually at Chris Drops right now getting digitized and ported. Those would be a better one to use, but I'd rather use it like if it was a 582, but I'm in a new crank. So there's too much in front of that right now. Like, I thought about it the other day, how many dyno projects we have going on. The 406 is putting back together now. I'm actually worked a little bit on the heads this week. That dyno mill's together. We had the 421, that pump gas one with the tunnel ram. Still need to do some more testing on that. The 421 circle track engine now. The 383 small block Chevy, which is like a hydraulic cast iron head things, got to do stuff on. I have the 350 blow up motor still together, and we're still wanting to do more testing on that. You then have the 408 Windsor that's going to be tested. I mean, if some more parts come in or something. The Hemi is literally sitting there, and that's so close to getting done as well. The 540 Big Block Chevy Dyno Mule, and that actually I've got to finish porting heads, and I'll be back on with that. And then you still have the Ford Cam Challenge and the Chevy Cam Challenge. So I am hooked up. Mike Cole, can you talk about intake port sizing versus cubic inch and RPM? For example, would the 305 AFR Magnum head on a 540 be appropriate for a bracket race engine to 6500, or does it need a bigger head? I think you need a bigger head. Some would argue different, but I think you need a bigger head. Really depends on what range you're running. So if your converters say 3500, that AFR 305 is probably fine. But if you had a real converter like you're really trying to race, the bigger heads would probably be faster. But if it's a bracket race, as long as it's consistent, doesn't matter. James Macklin, man, I suck at names. I'll get a hold of you. Thank you, buddy. You just get a hold of me. By the way, to point out too, since I got 50 people watching now, gone down from 58. Thank you. When you call, I'm usually a dick. I'm just going to tell you, because what you don't understand is I will have people calling to ask me what cam I should pick for their combination for nothing that I've sold them, or even the cam that they'll ask me between two cams. And they always do part numbers, a 12-34-65 from Comp Cams or 12-187. And then you'll call and you'll actually have a real question and you're a real customer. I'm like, what? I actually don't do what, so I'm just kind of angry. Or I just did something stupid and I'm trying to fix it and I've got to answer the phone. I need a secretary. John Taylor, is the Y, I'm assuming you meant Wyand Stealth intake decent for a 400 small block in a street S10? No, I don't think it's very good. Chris Almond, when will you be asking for payments for the small block Chevy Cam Challenge? And what will the entry fee be? Probably the same entry fee that we had for the Ford, which is high, 600. You might say, several of you are probably watching this wondering why will it be so high? It's part of it's two reasons. I don't know, it's going to happen at Coons. I don't know what they're actually going to charge for the downtime, and then maybe they'll do it for free, but I don't think that's fair. Even if they did, I feel like I should give them something anyway. But the other thing about it was when I had the LS at 100, which probably in October, we're going to do it again, and it'll be open to anybody. And I'll probably do that same 100 if the LS engine, I forgot, I also have the LS Dyno mill too. Assuming that's still together, no problems, we'll just run it again. I'll throw something different on it, so a different head package and intake package, but we'll do it again. But that one will be, I'll run it just like I did last year, where you got a deadline, this is what it is, it's $100, these are the amount of spots, boom. But for the Chevy, I'm not going to take any payments or anything until that engine's running and made a pull or so on the dyno. We know it's healthy. I don't want to be in this position where I'm in now with this small block Ford, where I'm like, guys, your cam's supposed to be on May 1st, which is not anymore. And then I don't even have an engine together. I still don't even have lifters. I don't want to be in this position because, just like this, I knew something would happen, and it did. So I'd prefer if it was together. So Chris Almond, and also I'm being stricter on the application for the Chevy too. I want people that actually want to do it, not just someone that wants to randomly test their cam that they have on the shelf. So I really want this to be more of a learning experience. That's what the whole cam challenge is for. Besides, like the first one was just more like, so many people claim to be a cam expert. They're not a cam experts. They just claim to be. There's claims and there's truth. So it was kind of to weed out through that. But the other thing was really to see, well, what's all this duration, all this stuff? What does it do as far as how does it affect the engine? And I think it gave the best it could tell, which there wasn't a whole lot of consensus on that one. And people blamed it for everything, and it could be whatever. It wasn't the exhaust system. Some fool said that in one of their videos. I'm going to tell you, it had nothing to do with the exhaust system. Had they gotten the dyno book, after the cam challenge was over, I tested it without the exhaust system on and different collector links. So anyway, it ain't that. So, but anyway, point being is I'm going to be more picky about the people that I'm going to have in that one. Anywho, James McElhaney again. Sorry, I've been butchering your name, but you know how many times I've been called Weingartner? You know, the only people that get it right are the salesmen, by the way, because they want that sale. It's a 440 horsepower small block, wider block dyno at 840 horsepower. It's pretty stout. I need another 40 or 50 horsepower. I've never even touched that head, so I don't know if I'm a person and I'll flow it and stuff, but I'll tell you my opinion, but it's just opinion. John Fatone, do you ever get any dyno info on the GMLS dual plane on the LS motor? Did you ever? Yes, I did. You can find it if you on my online store. It's actually in this book, by the way. Tested in several configurations, including with the Dominator. But if you like, I don't sell the book anymore because this book was like, I'm not joking. I charged $150 for the book. It cost me $110 to make the thing, and it cost $10 to ship it. FedEx was ripping me off. But I do sell the digital version of this. It's much cheaper than the actual book. I don't remember how much it is on the store. I think it's like $50 or something, or 40. I can't remember. But yeah, it's in there. Todd Scully. I just pulled apart a 2009 Hemi today. Every intake valve was bent. Would a cam phaser do that? You're asking the wrong guy on that one. I'm sorry to be the letdown. Once I experiment with this Hemi, that'll be a first with that one. Although, because I have a Hemi in my Ram out here, and I used to have a 13 Hemi, I swear to God, it goes in valve float when you start getting higher RPM. And that's with stock cam. So I don't know that, I think they might have messed it on that spring package. That's my opinion, though. Jason Matthews, what kind of power difference between the stock Dragon Slayer and those lower end Chinese head that you like after ported? So the stock Dragon Slayer versus the Chinese 210, which in all fairness, they flow the same. So that's the highest flowing ASCAS head I've had on my bench, has been that Chinese 210 head. Matter of fact, and people are not going to believe this, I swear it's the truth, because I even checked my bench 4 times and put on another head that I have as a standard to make sure. The last that I flowed 318, which was wow. Because usually they're 290s. Anywho, flow wise, I would think, they're relatively the same. I would think from the flow numbers that 210 would be better, but the Dragon Slayer has the advantage of more cross-sectional area for sure. So just because the bench says one thing, that cross-sectional area might say something else. And in that case, what you see is it probably may make more power in the dyno. I really wish companies kind of would work with me. And there are companies that do, but I do wish they would let me experiment with some of the stuff and they could sell the head. They'd probably make their money back. So let's say, here's what I mean. Let's say Brodix had a blend Dragon Slayer or just had a Dragon Slayer that is just there and someone, whatever. If they just let me test the thing and I put it on the 406 once it's going again, which hopefully is not long, and I put it on there and it makes X amount of power, and I test it against this 210 and it makes X amount of power, well, then I could send it back to Brodix. I don't want the head. I've got enough heads as it is. And they could say this was the one that was used on the channel, and they'd probably sell it and get their money back out of it. But I don't know why companies don't do that. So, but probably because in the end they lose sales if they look bad. But I'm not even trying to make anybody look bad. I'm just trying to give them information. There's nothing worse, by the way, when you have a company that lets you test something. You're like, oh man, I got to tell you, buddy. And I tell them the truth. I'm like, it wasn't as good. And they're like, oh, well, the right correct response is, thank you for telling me. The incorrect response is, you must have done something wrong, like on both heads. But anyway, are you planning on doing any Gen 3 Hemi testing? Yeah, it's literally sitting here. Here's the 2 things I need for it. I need, if you're a dyno guy, maybe help. And I think it's just a regular bell housing. I need a bell housing for the Gen 3 Hemi. I think that's all it takes, because I think a regular bell housing bolts up to the dyno. I need that bell housing and I need the flywheel. If I had those now, that could be dyno tested right now. So I've got the headers, I've got the intake and the MSD box to run it, so I run it on a carburetor. But yeah, I'd be running it if I had the bell housing and flywheel. Right now, I'm so tapped out on every other engine project that go wrong, I don't want to add more to my plate. What do I charge for cam recommendations? $100. It depends on what cam you want, but usually that $100 goes for it. But in all fairness, here lately, and I don't mind saying it, I'm so busy with the head porting stuff because I charged more than other people did for custom cams because I'd be like trying to figure it out, working on it. I'd go back to my notes and look at the other engines that I had done and what they were, and I'd figure it all out. It would take like an hour, and a customer would be like, okay, could you switch the LSA to this? I'm like, you don't understand. I tested with this. No, could you? Okay. So then I'd do it. I'm like, man, this is a lot of time that I'm not making money in the shop. So here lately, I've just been like, Hey, Daniel Powell, can you grind this cam? I'm going to do the specs. Boom. Or Daniel, could you just spec one for me? And then the other one is Bobby. He's the other one I use. So both of them, like why one or the other? Because I like to spread it out. Both of them are great. Anyway, Randy Rothweiler, thanks for the $10, buddy. So I am pretty good on cams, though, I think, but there's some exceptions. I don't think I'm as good at some of the stuff like on the LSs. Some of the stuff you do, I wouldn't have thought. Like for even those cam cards that came in for the cam challenge, like not what I'd have picked. But even now, I got some of these Ford ones. I can't wait for you guys to see some of these cam cards because some of them are like, no way. I don't know what you're thinking. Then there's one that came in. I was like, I think this is a winner, and I watched that one be a loser. Johnny Atkins, Everfold the ASCAS Pro Max 185 cc heads. If you're talking about the Project X 185s, I have. They're in a video. You can search that up. If you're talking about that Shocker series, I have those too. That's also in a video. Those essentially just knock off the IK heads. John W. Pinkard, 454 Gen 6 Clay Smith cam. You gave me a part number. Don't ever give me part numbers for a cam because how would I know that? 10-1, 781, 219, 188 valves. What are your thoughts? Cam specs. I don't know what your compression ratio is. Seems fine. Salvia says, what cam and intake are you using on the Hemi? Right now it's stopping, but Summit sent me some other another cam to try on it too. So I want to Dyno it stock, and I'll put this Summit cam in it and try that. AFR probably will send me Hemi heads to use for this too, because I've got some new line that's out there, and I'm really curious what they do. I do have. Oh shoot! You want to know what a flow plate is? I'm sorry, I didn't even think about it. It's right below me. Yeah, this is the flow plate. This is the last one I bought. It is the Gen 3 Hemi. This sucker was quite a bit of money, but I can flow the Hemis. I've done it before. Okay. You guys don't ask questions, you're going to end up hearing me rant, which I know how much you guys love that. One of my favorite shows right now is Black Mirror, by the way. I love that show. It's on Netflix. Man, you got to give me some questions here, guys. Oh, these are sitting here, so I'll just talk about them. Let me get the card. Christina Lowe at Cylinder Head Abrasives. So people ask sometimes where I get my burrs. She sent me these ones to try, these high helix ones. I have one of her 5/8, the bigger one, and it's a flame. That dude is very expensive, but I love it, especially for the bigger heads. But let's pull out this one. I don't hardly ever use this one because this is just a triangle, or they call it a tree. But the problem is it digs in wrong. So, but I'm going to try it on port matching. I think it'll work better for that because you can do it properly. For those that grind heads, you'll know it's an art. For those that watch this, you're like, oh, it looks easy. Try it. These, by the way, the high helix are more stable, so they don't bounce around. The funniest thing is when you hand someone a grinder and you put like what I'm using, these burrs I use, and you hand them a grinder, they're like, bam, 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 bam. It bounces all around because it's hard to control. You gotta know what you're doing. John W. Picard, 215 Dark Pro 1 heads, 406. A small block Chevy stock, good for 600 horsepower. Do you know if they're the platinum heads and the non-platinum heads? There is a difference. Because that ended, or that last week or the week before when I showed that Nova that was on the dyno, chassis dyno with the root supercharger on it, it had a set of the older non-platinum Pro ones that I ported, And I didn't even say this, and I should have. He should have felt really good about himself because my engine in the S10 is a 406, and it made almost. I think mine made 6 or 7 more horsepower than his. We're both making about the same boost, but I ported his heads, and I've got the raised runner heads, so that was actually pretty interesting. Platinum, 215s. Do I think it makes 600? How much compression ratio? So if you can answer that one, I'll try to see. Eric, I know flatheads are outside your realm completely, but theoretically speaking, how much can one apply typical port math to flatty? I have no idea. You know what's funny is, and I almost brought up in one of my videos, and thank God I didn't. There's been several times I'm in that Dunsworth machine shop, and he's got a flathead he's got to rebuild for him. And he's like, I hate these. I hate them. So, because last time we were going out to eat after the dyno session, he's like, I can't stand doing these. And I almost told people, this guy could do flatheads. Because every time it seemed like there was one in there. But he doesn't like them. But he can do them. I guess it would say he likes anything that pays. Johnny Atkins. Okay, thanks, Eric. James McElhaney. You know anyone who can build a sheet metal tunnel ramp for an intake for a W9? No one cheap. That's the sad part. People ask me those questions, and I have never bought one. I have so wanted to buy a sheet metal manifold, but I can't ever afford them. John Marcellia's, his stuff looks amazing. So Marcellia manifolds, there's Hogan's, HRD. For what it's worth, they're very shallow ports, and I found really like flat seats and nail head valves. That may be the case, Joe. John Picard, 13.5 to 1. You should make 600. That's 600 capable. If you got the right cam, just don't blow it. I see a lot of Hemis with cam and head packages, heads flowing 380 CFM, Holly higher AM intakes, and they make under 600. Any thoughts on that? I don't know when this is on here, but yeah, I think they'll make well more than that. I know you say that, but after being an engine masters and watched the Gen 3 Hemis kick the crap out of the LSs and pretty much everything except for the 4-valve Coyotes whenever they were there, that Hemi will make power. Joe, I do flathead Harleys for a living. I've been getting into a lot of heavy epoxy work and finding very big gains. Applying some of your shallow port tips. Thanks. Yep. You can spend a lot of time on the bench. The thing is, and that's part of it too. I need more direct dyno time where I test, grind something, test on the dyno. The problem with that, though, because I'm going to tell you this if you're doing the small block Chevy Cam Challenge, you're going to get the least amount of cylinder head data for that head because that's actually one of my heads and it's a very special one. So, like the area over the short side, you won't get that. You'll get the minimum cross section. You won't get the velocities in the port because honestly, you guys are just using that. I think people are using that excuses like, I need that data so I can have a better cam. Oh, I didn't get it, so it wasn't the perfect cam. But no, I'm not giving you that. But I'll give you obviously the flow numbers, the swirl numbers, just because who cares. And then the minimum cross-sectional area and approximate CCs of the port. Sorry. Mike Cole, what kind of clothing gear do you use to keep chips off you when grinding? And an apron? I'm not leaving you. I'm just reaching behind me to get something. So bear with me and I'll show you. There it is. I'm not leaving. I'll be right. Just got to grab some. Oh, my legs are sore. Okay. If you can get me, David Visor actually sent me these, but I use an apron. And here's what the thing about aprons, right? I'm a bigger guy. I don't have the flexibility, so it's really hard to tie behind me. So I like this one because I can tie it in front of me. So if you could find more like this, send them to me. Because here's what happens. You see this pocket right here? If you're grinding, you can tell how long you know when you need to change apron when you're grinding. Here's how I tell. If you reach in your pocket right here where you're supposed to put your thing, and it feels full but nothing's in it, and it's full of aluminum, you need a new apron. And that's where I'm getting. So I wear an apron just because, mostly to keep it off my legs. It still will end up getting everywhere else. And I don't wear glasses. The reason why I don't is because I have a mask on. And wearing an N95 mask, I really do think it's better for your health. So I wear an N95 mask, and I wear the most expensive earmuffs I can. So just like I have now, the earbuds are in, because I'll listen to audiobooks. Like right now, I'm listening to the latest Hunger Games one, which is a prequel book. Not that you guys care, and you're like, you listen to that? Yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff. But anyway, put the most expensive earmuffs on, and then this goes over it. So this, you get this at Harbor Freight. This is their more nicer one. And at 90, I haven't had any metal come in my eye. Occasionally what happens is the fan's blowing over here, and it will blow like dust into it, but never like a sliver. So thank God for that. Small miracles, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's what I use. When I'd use glasses, it would steam them up. It was just getting too frustrated. Okay. Quick performance services. Is it possible to hit close to 700 horsepower NA without flowing over 300 CFM on a 414 cubic inch small block Ford 12.5 to 1 saw on a saw roller 640 67 650 lifts? I'm thinking no. Well, I can't say no. And that particular combination, probably not. No, I don't think so. If I was to guess that, 414, 630 on Dunsworth Dyno. Dirk, would the cheapest stock aluminum heads from a junkyard be best for learning to port on, or what would you recommend? Not to become a porter, but just out of curiosity. What I would say is, before the tariffs, and they must still be available. So no, I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying, before the tariffs, or knock this out of the way, go to eBay, or not eBay, Amazon, and they used to be DNA heads, because I don't know how many got shipped to me. You could port that one, because I think at the time they were $250. I don't have a clue what they cost for one head, which is really cheap. So it's cheaper than what you probably get from a junkyard, and you don't have to worry about having the disadvantage of grinding a used head is, if you haven't cleaned it properly, you're going to have all that chemicals and stuff that was used in the fuel and everything, and the oil and everything's there. So you'll grind in it, you end up inhaling it. So yes, that mask protects from the dust, but it doesn't necessarily prevent some of the oils and stuff getting in your lungs that can harm you. So if you're really wanting just to play around, get that one, because it's relatively cheap, or was. I have no idea what it is now. That's why I say tariffs, because I don't know if they're even one available, or two, what it costs. Are the Brodix IK heads a performance improvement over Vortex, or roughly equal? I haven't done this test, but a long time ago, Chevy High Performance did, and the IK 180s is better. Once the 383 is up and running, I will do that test, because I will have tested all the double hump heads, because that's going to be testing 461 double humps, 492 double humps, these 292 turbo heads. These are all here, by the way, and a set of the Brodix IK 180s that I'm going to port. I'm going to try to buy another set and see. Speaking of which, I haven't brought this up, but I've got 3 different versions of my Dragon Slayers. If you're like, is there any way I can get a discount on some? I might knock a couple hundred off if you let me test with them. What I mean by that is, I want to dyno test my standard Dragon Slayer, the one with the short exhaust port, the one that requires shaft rockers, and the 4060 spacey one, and see how much power difference there is between them. You're like, wow. Well, I think they're all going to make great power. I just want to know what the difference is. Quick Performance Services, thank you. You're welcome. And Dirk, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Thank you. Another drink time brought to you by RC Cola. Remember, it tastes better. I don't know if you guys watch my TikTok, I hardly ever put anything on there. It's usually just dyno stuff for people that have a short attention span. That's usually what I do. But I put out a video today because I recorded a very interesting conversation. Uh, I told my wife about one of my prouder moments of what my son has said. You should check that out. It's pretty funny. Tom Sullivan, hi from West Australia. Why do you stick to your niche of overhead valve V8 engines? I don't recall ever seeing 4-valve or Japanese head on your bench. Because I'm straight. No, in all fairness, is because this is a niche. This is me, and I'm gonna sound like a dick, but you already knew I was. The problem with the 4-valve stuff, I always thought from early on. Remember, I grew up. I'm probably not your age, but I always thought it was like pointless for someone to take a 4-cylinder and do all that work to it to make what a stock 350 could make for power. And now, of course, they're like, well, we boost it and we can make more. Well, you could do that on a V8. So I don't understand why you would do it. So then the 4-valve stuff is superior to 2-valve. I'm not going to knock that whatsoever. The Coyote is a prime example. It just costs too damn much. But I don't mess with it because that ain't mine. I just don't. Why? I guess those guys, if you're someone doing 4-valve stuff, they probably have more money because they got to spend more money. But I've just never been about that. Even when I'm watching that Cletus wants to do that big race he does, I can't even remember what it's called, World Cup. You watch the imports and they're like super fast and oil down a track. Because that's about every time I go to the track. It's the same thing. Fast oil track. We wait 3 hours. So I've never been a fan of that because of that. But I do love Australia. I'm surprised. Like I almost want to. I see a lot of the Holden stuff, and I almost want to play with that. But there's no Holdens here. TikTok can get lots of views. That's no lie too, but I think the algorithm hadn't found me on that enough, or I'm not pumping it enough. I guess you got to put a video every day. I don't think they make that much money either, because I was watching this one and she was hot, this blonde girl, and she was talking about how much money she made on TikTok, and she has like 7 million followers. Remember, I've only got 40,000 on YouTube, and she only made 40,000 a year. I was like, well, that's good money, but 7 million. I don't think Cletus McFarlane even has 7 million followers. So I don't mind putting it out for fun, but it ain't gonna make any money. Do you have a favorite engine that you have built? Remember, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I haven't built an engine. The last engine I built was the one that's in Bishop's Nova now. That was the last one I built. Um, I I I liked it. I always thought when I was younger, I'm building engines for a career, be like Gary at Dunsworth. Hell no. You know how stressful it is? This is no joke. When I built that engine master engine in 2008, I'm not making this up. I was teaching back then too. I had put everything together, and I mean, taken forever to do it because I wanted to make sure it was perfect. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking I forgot to do something. I didn't put that, and it wasn't even like I did forgot to torque around the bearing or the rod bolt or nothing. I thought I didn't have that bearing just perfectly sitting in there. Like it might have been just slightly crooked. So I went out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, took off the oil pan, which is all silicone now, just to check the rod that was actually perfect. If you're OCD, building an engine is horrible. Now I would just set up a camera, like 3 of them, to record me doing it. But my favorite one to build still would be, I like the Chevy just because I know enough about them. Like when there's a problem like that crank snout or that blower motor when it had its problem, I can instantly tell because I've had so much stuff go wrong. But I still find it amazing when I have people questioning me. Like I can be wrong about stuff, but when I say this has happened, for instance, they're like camshaft inplane can't cause timing to move that much. That's a lie. If you went back in time when the Camaro was painted green and had these yellow scallops on it, that's exactly what happened. Because I put a cam button on, but I didn't check in play because I didn't know anything about that. I thought you just put a cam button on, it's fine. No, it moved like 30,000 or 40,000 a lot. And every time it would do that, the cam would go forward. But when it came back, it would cause that distributor to roll, not the actual turning point. Obviously, that's helping that clamp. But that whole position where the gear would be in a different alignment when it came back. And it would throw the timing off 20 degrees every time. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me why I was doing it. You want to guess who I got it from? Dunsworth. Man's experienced more problems than me. Anyway. Chris Barnard. I like to see a cheap cleaner style 406 build with Chinese casting heads, like the old Pro Comps. You'll never see a Pro Comp on my channel. Just to see how budget would stack up in the next high dollar build. The closest budget thing really is that 355 that I tried blowing up. Because, I mean, that's the cheapest. That block was a used one. I mean, it's nothing special. The crank and rods, I mean, that's a used GM cast crank. GM powdered metal rods that came out of a 604 crate engine. They could have came out of a Vortec engine too. People kept messing that part up. And the Mall pistons were the same ones that came out of the 4-valve relief stuff that came out of the 604 crate engine. That's circle track stuff for you guys. And that engine was cheap. It had the AFR enforcer heads. It made over 1,000 horsepower. I mean, if you were to buy that engine, like just buy it like that, besides the blower, you're probably into it maybe 3. Really? So with the blower, because that's the more expensive blower, then you're getting kind of up there. But you could probably do it cheaper with a turbo. Eventually, we'll put turbos on and see what you make. However, last time I was on the dyno, I told Dunsworth, I said, I want to do another one to blow up or try to, but I don't want to. I want to do a 400 stock block because if you're a small block Chevy guy, and I know I talk a lot about the small block Chevys, but understand this: I'll do anything. I like the others too, and I kind of want to test it with an 8.2 deck because I've heard the same thing on the Ford. The 400 blocks everybody keeps saying they're going to break, they're going to break, they're going to break. That's just what everybody said about 350, right? And then it didn't break. So I said, Gary, do you have any here? And I don't remember if he did or didn't, but I think he said it was too good and he didn't really want to do it cheaply. But I want to build a blow up 406 and we'll just give it hell and see what happens. Do the same thing, put the blower on it or whatever, and see how far we can go. I want to see if the block actually does break. Because I heard that too. That was always why I was spooked, and I don't know that that's true. Can we get better volume next time, please? Are you having a hard time hearing me? If you are, let me know. All right.
Try this one more time.
Can you hear me any better? Great. Thank you. I just want to know about that. Sometimes I think it's on other people's ends. Thoughts on a super thin piston rings, low tension versus older 564s would be just application and air boost. The smaller rings absolutely make more power. They absolutely do. There's probably a whole lot of science that I could be lying to whenever I try to explain it because I don't know that I can explain it properly. But they make more power, flat out. So a 564th ring versus 16, there's probably a gain there for sure. There's a gain, but even the smaller stuff, that's the reason why we keep going to smaller ring packages. As far as low tension versus high tension, I've never even ran low tension rings, partly because besides the Camaro, nothing else runs a vacuum pump. So I just don't want it to smoke. I don't even know how much power it actually frees up. I'm sure if you're like drag racing, you need to last a little bit. Maybe that's the ticket. But I think if you're trying to worry about that and you haven't spent more money on like better set of cylinder heads, you probably should spend more time on the cylinder heads. I saw another video about messing with the oil expander. You do know that doesn't actually make contact with the cylinder wall. I wouldn't do that. Whatever that person had said. That's don't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's a no. Jake, hold on. By the way, my son's best friend, one of his best friends, his name is Jake too. Jake, you have a stock block? I'll donate. Hell yeah, brother, because we got the stuff. Matter of fact, I probably could get a stock 350 crank and just use the spacers and do a 377. But I mean, if I can get the 400 stuff, I'll do it. I don't want to use stock 400 rods. That is dumb. But anyway, I don't know how to make the sound quality any better. So you're like, guys, oh yeah, I do. Daniel Powell actually told me this thing to get, this EOD thing that makes everything sound better. I have it inside the house, and this is how bad I've had it for 2 months, and I've had zero time to even mess with it. Same with this live feed thing that had a better camera too. No time to even mess with it. So thanks for all the people that are watching. Uh, for what it's worth, I've seen a 4-bolt main engines make almost 700 horsepower, no problems at all. I have too. That's what makes it worse. Because it's like, even though you know it's wrong, but you keep hearing people repeat it, you're like, maybe they know something I don't know, because I haven't had a problem. If you went back in time, the loudest engine, like you want to talk about, like people talk about idle sounds and stuff, the loudest engine I have ever had, and I've had, I got the 565 and the big block that's in the Camaro now, and even the Roots blower one. The loudest engine I've ever had was my 406 that was in the Camaro, and that was a stock block. And I know if we had dynoed it, because it had a ton of RAM and everything on it, it probably was like 650, 680 on a stock block. I don't think it ever would have gave a problem, but I just kept hearing it too, so I ended up getting a dart block. I do know, I am 100% certain on this, you will crack through the steam holes. It'll go from the head bolt to the steam hole. I've never seen one that just didn't. Thank you. It's hard to ask questions with limited characters on here. Have a great evening and weekend. You can ask questions more if you want to. Uh, just do the best that you can. I don't even have all the answers sometimes. What about 2-bolt main small block Chevy? How far would you push it versus 4-bolt? I don't know, because I originally, when we did the 350 blow up, it's going to be a 2-bolt main because that's what he had. But then he had another 400 or 4-bolt main that we used. I don't know if there's a tip. I want to do that too. The engine that's in Bishop's Nova that's behind this camera, that's a 2-bolt main. So I absolutely know it's fine for 400 horsepower. Um, I even know it's probably good to 500. I don't know about beyond that. I don't. I don't know. And for you Ford guys, I've heard as much as I hear about the 400 blocks being bad, I've heard equally about the 8.2 decks being as bad. But I will say this: I could curl the 8.2 deck block. Like I could pick it up and curl it. I cannot curl a 400 small block. I could pick it up and my back will be hurting. So your block is really, really light. Eric, do you think the Dart 380cc heads are as good as the heads you built for Kurt Riffle? Alan Redmond. So you know Kurt Riffle? He's the one that did my chassis, by the way, in the Camaro. No, his heads are up really good. For those that don't know, Kurt Riffle, he runs the Joker, the Pro Mod. He also has this really nice Chevelle that he runs. For the longest time, he's probably the least budgeted guy that runs Pro Mod. And I understand he's probably not as fast as those guys because they keep spending more and more. But also, understand this. He's got a billet big block, but he's got billet heads, but they're a 24-degree head. So they were Alan Johnson. I had ported them. And I guess if I was one of those guys where I want to claim records and stuff, for the longest time, I may even be still. It's the fastest Pro Mod that had a 24-degree head on it, which sounds great when you realize, but no one else runs a 24-degree head. But anyway, his are pretty good. I mean, really good. So it's great when you don't have to worry about water. You just had to worry about the oil drain backs, but big deal, just weld it up and redrill the hole. Mini DAC. Have you done much with small block Mopar heads? I haven't, as far as flow tests, etc. No, because I don't own the flow plate, so I turn a lot of them down. I've only done like the trick flow ones, and honestly, those are really good. Loose in pain. Recently, you said you like the big block Chevy Merlin 4-block. What exactly do you like about it? This is me. So, and you're more than welcome to your own opinions. I have had a Dart block. That's what the blow up motor was. and the Dart in inside the Camaro. But the Merlin, if you look at what you get from Merlin versus the Dart, you get a grade 8 bolt on all the main tabs. You'd figure for the price that they have, they could spring for the ARP stuff. So right away, the Merlin comes with ARP ones, better. Some people will argue differently in this, but they have a dowel on the Merlin that locates the cap to keep it from as moving. You just have registers on the Dart. I like that better. So there's that. As far as the deck thickness, I swear the Merlin's more too, because the weight on the Merlin versus the weight on the Big M, I believe the Merlin's heavier. So there's a lot of things I like about it better. And if I had the two blocks in front of you, I'd show you. But both are good. I don't think you. I mean, obviously the Dart's working fine with the blower motor. It wasn't the block that broke, but I think the Merlin, I really do think is better. And not because they paid me to say it. The only thing, they gave me a discount to get the block. They didn't pay me for none of that. I'm only going to go till 9 o'clock, so you get about 14 minutes to ask more questions. And thanks to the tens of viewers. I appreciate you. It means a lot to me. I'm sorry the sound quality wasn't the greatest. I really should figure out that thing that Daniel Powell sent, or didn't send, but that mic. I'm sure it's like an easy snap to thing. Yeah, I'm just not as with it on technology. The bad part is, like, it probably take me 5 minutes, but I don't have 5 minutes. Like, the entire day is busy. I wake up, I go to the gym, and every day I'm like, no, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'll work in the shop more. And inevitably, I end up getting out at the same time if I do that. So I just go to the gym, make the pain hurt worse, and then I come and work at the shop. Thanks. Par built a 582 for me with on one. Alan Redmond, thank you for doing this. I don't mind doing this. I was hoping more people would have asked questions about the 408 dyno mule, because I think after every time I finish it, and more in extended period of dyno session with the mule motor, what I'll do is I will do a live feed so you could ask questions with that, just so instead of having to answer in all the comments. Because the problem with comments is sometimes I miss them, and sometimes they aren't read the right way. So at least this way I could actually see everything. But I know for sure I'm not going to do a video on Saturday, because it turns out tomorrow actually is my son's swim banquet awards assembly. And then on Saturday, we need to go to church for sure. And I thought she said something else she wanted me to do. I need to work, but there's something. Oh, she wants me to go eat with her parents for lunch. So, yeah. So I won't be doing a video on Saturday. Sunday, I get to go to my mom's house for Easter. That should be great. Get to see my brother. But the only person who is my brother is Joe Carroll. He probably talked some more in the last 5 years than I have. Bill Brennick, how did the dyno make small block Ford not blow up at 500 horsepower? It's a miracle. Yeah, it's a miracle. And another note, there's this guy I work with, like Dugan. You probably heard me talk with him. He used to work here in the shop. He just got so busy with a full-time job. His truck's almost ready, and we'll be on the chassis down with that. That's the truck we want to take to War in the Woods. I don't know that we'll make the May one, but the one in September we'll go to. I also need to get up to Bob's, because I still need to work with Nick and get up there and do a dyno session now that Bob's back in Ohio, so we can test all those heads. Oh, I got about 10 minutes. We'll call it quits. So please ask questions. Oh, today I was going on that 2892 intake manifold. That's a Super Victor 2. You want to hear a funny story? This is the one. I'll probably never do this on the channel or whatever. So I have my CNC Dragon Slayer program, and I had the one that does not require shaft rockers. It has 11/32 valve. It's like my base model, right? Well, because of the core shift, there's always spots where it doesn't clean up on the CNC machine. So I have to blend it hit it with a cartridge roll just so it looks more visually appealing. It does nothing for flow, and I'm about to prove why. So I was like, man, I'm tired of that. So I ordered a CNC Track One casting. Its exhaust ports in a different location. So I had to redo the exhaust ports, but the intake ports come into that casting absolutely perfect with no need to blend whatsoever. And I was tickled to death, happy as could be. Yay, me, right? I was like, this should be amazing. This is the head I will use on the 406. I put the adapter plates on it and everything. So I made it 8 millimeters, and I was able to use an AFR valve because I made it 2125 intake valve, which is an AFR valve. And then I made the exhaust valve 1.570 instead of the 1.575 that I use on the Dragon Slayers, both 8 millimeter, but I could use the two-up 1570 valve that they use in the AFR 220 small block Ford head. So I'm like, this is going to be the ticket. This is going to be amazing. So last night, before I started flowing the Ford, working with it, I had it up here on the bench, and I flowed mine first, mostly because I wanted to see what those port plates would do on the exhaust, the adapter to make it a stall pattern. So I flow it, and it goes like at 4, it does 258. It's like, okay, great, it's better. And at 5, it was like 294, and then at 6, it was 316, and then at 7, it was 330, like right there on the button. And it peaked. It goes a little bit further, it does 334. I was like, okay. Today, because I had to finish this job for a customer, the Dragon Slayer, the regular one, that doesn't require shaft rockers, because the one I just told you about requires shaft rockers. It's got 11/32 valve. It's a bigger valve. It's my rev valves. If you look at it, you're like, you had to do a lot of sanding. I put that thing on the bench, and I'm like, we'll see how it does. This should go right about 333 peak. I put it on there. It goes 252 at 4. I was like, oh, so it's down a little. It's normal, but it's down from my other one. I'm like, okay. 500, it's 292. It's down 2 CFM from the other one with the 8 millimeter. I was like, okay. At 600, it goes 320. It's 4 CFM up from my other one. So I'm like, what in the hell? And then at 7, it goes 333. At 8, it goes 340. The model didn't even do 340. So occasionally, sometimes you have ones that are better than expected. And if you look at it, you're like, does it look better? It looks like I do more sanding. It's better. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's one of the things you want to have on your channel. So you're like, guys, you're never going to believe this. Just because it's perfect, got all like perfect CNC. And then you got this one, you had a little buff here so you don't see the as cast finish, and it's better. And it's better than the others. Blows my mind. To your questions. Let's see. The 377 build would be awesome. I am process of building a 379. John Matone, do you have any recommendations for a competent shop to machine a tall deck LS manifold down to fit a standard LS deck? Thanks. Is it carbureted, that manifold you're talking about? And the answer to your question, I don't really know. I can mill off those, but without having the block and stuff here, that's hard. Let's see. King of the Planet. Have you checked out the big block Chevy Blueprint engines heads? No, I haven't. I don't know anything about those. I haven't seen them in person. Right? 69 Sexy Monkey 69. Love the name. Can you run no exhaust valve seals on a street? I am considering it because recently seized number 7 exhaust valve in the guide, a 350 with the trick flow dual DH 175 heads. Have you talked to? This is to you, Sexy 9 Monksy. Sorry, it sounds weird, but I'm going to do it anyway. Have you talked to Trick Flow about that? Because that seems more like if they're blaming it on an oil issue, I don't know that that's it. So this is from me and a multitude of experience of failures. Typically, if you stick a guide, it's very rarely oiling. Very rarely. The times that has happened to me has been circle track stuff, and because especially those that have like a lift rule, so their exhaust temperatures are high. You would think they'd be like, oh, nitrous and stuff. No, their manifolds are headed to be glowing red, and they'll do it for 20 minutes straight. those will stick in a guide, especially if it's cast iron guides. Bronze, not so bad. Since you have a trip flow head, it should be bronze. Marine can do it at the same time too, because if it's cold, so they have cold water, so the head itself stays cold, so it's contracted, so it's shrinking around the guide. And then you start trying to give it before the engine's really up and warmed up to open up that guide clearance. It's still really tight, and then you go giving it a lot of power. The valve itself, it's got more heat and it expands, it seizes. Anyway, chances are it didn't have enough clearance. That's most likely what actually I'm trying to get at. But to answer your question completely, yes, you can run without exhaust valve seals on the exhaust. On most boat stuff I do, I don't put exhaust seals on the exhaust for that reason. Because of the temperature differences, it's better just to leave it that way. But I also open up the clearance as well. On a street deal, you could do it. Here's what's going to happen though. The oil, since there's no seal on that, the oil will seep down through the guide and will land on the back of the exhaust valve. It'll start pulling on the back of the exhaust valve. Then eventually what's going to happen when you go out the next day to start the car, it's going to blow some white smoke. If you don't mind that, it's not a problem. For those that think it's going to smoke all the way through the time you're driving, it doesn't. Okay, there's not enough time for it to drip down. Some will come down, obviously, but not enough where it's causing a huge white smoke issue. If you have that, it's usually something with piston ring or something. So, NJ Racing. Hey, Eric, I have heard you and others people say that the Super flows more CFM than other benches. If it is calibrated with the test orifice, how could it flow more than the other benches? I wish the hell I knew, because that's the truth. So this is Super flow and this is the signs. I have calibrated orifices. This plate's only supposed to flow 300. I've got one that flows 400 and one that flows 200. This is what's weird. On this bench, they'll breed like maybe one CFM, and usually it's less than one CFM variance between what that plate is. I go over here and it's actually down. So with just the orifice, so all this crap you have to take off to do it, by the way. I will put it on there and I will flow it, and it'll be like 298. So it's 2 CFM downs. So you're like, hopefully you still hear me. I hope I didn't mess it up by touching it. But it'll be like 2 CFM down. I put the fixtures back on. Flow it again. The head, flow head here, it's higher. And I know you're thinking, well, what about leakage? That's a good question, because as you notice, they're two different stands. I check leakage, so I'll put it on range one for that, and that's how I'll do it. Something in the design for that Superflow makes it read higher than that. And what I think it is Superflow, we have this round entry at the top, right? So does the Superflow, both do. Right underneath this on the sides, if you look underneath that, to prevent the air from messing up the orifice plate, they have a flat plate that's right below it. So you have the cylinder here, flat plate here. So the air slams into that plate, flashes out, calms down to get around the orifice that's underneath it. Superflow, on the other hand, has your cylinder here, and then like the plate is canted like this. So it hits here, and then it's different. That's my only thought. I could be wrong, and I'm a total moron. Marcus Watson. Have you ever ported a tune port injection intake manifold before? Like, no, I haven't, and I never would. I don't want to port those tune ports one. Bill Brennick, what is the highest horsepower in a small block and big block you have been a part of? And what heads and RPM displacement were they? If it's like what I have been a part of, which means I supplied heads for someone, or do you mean like I have built? Because as far as NA goes, that's the thing, is like when people are building the most NA power, those guys are rare. They'll just put a power adder on. So I would say I've had a few small blocks, but they're 23 stuff that have been in the 800s. It's too bad this whole project fell apart, and I can't even still talk about it. There's this Dragon Slayer head that I did. That dude would probably was going to be like 2.8, 2.9 horsepower per cubic inch. So it probably would have been 900. It's dead in the water. Big block, I know I've had some in the 1100s, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if you're going to, not a lot of people spend a lot of money to make a high horsepower NA motor. Usually they're like, screw it, I will get a blower or turbo. But good question. JJ, have you ever purchased balanced rotating assemblies from a manufacturing company and just threw it in and ran it? Have been successful, or don't even chance it and take it to a machine shop? The small block Chevy Cab Challenge, that one's getting thrown in that way because I typically go order them balanced. Like that rotating assembly is balanced. Because here's the thing, just because there's a competent local machine shop doesn't mean that they could. Shouldn't say it. Just because a machine shop can balance a rotating assembly doesn't mean they do it right. I don't know how many I've seen where it's like 8 holes just plowed through the crank, or there are so many things. Like even my crank that's in the 477, the last guy that balanced it. Oh, good God. He had drilled the hole so far down. This is the reason why I'm not, I think everything's going to be fine. I hope. This hole is like this deep, this freaking deep. You know what? Scat would never have done that. Scat, when they balance theirs and others too, they don't drill a hole that deep. What they do is they cut off the counterweight. But a lot of places won't do that because they don't have the machines or the time or the tooling, whatever, to do it. So they'll do it just holes. So yes, I have no problem doing that. I've done it before, running unbalanced from them. Peanut, have you ever flow tested any small block Chevy All Pro cylinder heads? Yes, I just did a high raised runner 23-degree one. They went 390 on my bench. Pretty good. Something's beat it. That was also 23. Broke Joe builds. Small block Chevy Cam Challenge. Still taking entries? Yes. Put your name in. Roman Tajarian. Stock 6.2 short block. Would I see good gain in power with ported heads, or are I needing more cubic inch in reality use ported LS3 heads? I think you would see gains, but not with the stock cam. James McClay. Basic gas only over here. Rodney, Hemi head is over 1050 horsepower. I don't doubt that. Have you ever heard of unbalanced engine braking, transmissions, bell housing, even JW trend? No, I haven't. But I think the problem with our business in general is so many people don't want to take responsibility when they screw up. And I know that sounds weird, but that's part of the problem. It's two sides, I guess. You got problem one is several shops don't want to take responsibility for whenever they mess up. Problem two, customers don't want to take responsibility when they mess up. So they blame it on everything else. And what I mean by that is I've never heard of an engine being so out of balance that tore up a transmission. But I could totally see a transmission shop blaming the engine for being out of balance and that breaking it. Can it be a possibility that could have happened? Yes. How likely? Is it more likely that something else went wrong with the transmission? Probably. But on the other hand of that, how many customers have said, your part broke and it's your fault and this, when really they installed it wrong or did something wrong? They just don't want to admit it because they don't want to have to buy it twice. So it's both sides of the coin. Broke Joe builds. I think I actually have a star next to your name as far as the entry on that cam challenge. So you don't have to enter again. I'm going to give you guys 2 more minutes and then I'm going to call this quits. Remember, this one's brought to you by RC Cola, where they don't pay me to drink it. I pay them. I wish I had the guts to run some of these races, by the way. I love my S10 too much to be like, I want to go down to Yellow Belly and race. Because they look like a lot of fun, except for how do you have that many people around the starting line? Are you just wanting to get closed down? I'm just waiting for a drive shaft to shoot out, like knock off the legs of like 5 people. And I don't want it to happen, but I could see it happening because I've got Murphy's Law is like riding right here. He's like, every day. Anyway, I don't know how that happens. And how many camera people do we need filming this thing? Everybody and their dog got to be on YouTube filming the same clip. Come on, guys. I know it's like, well, you're a YouTube guy. I don't even do that. You know what's sad is I didn't know. I went up to see Bill. I don't think I even took a picture with Bill. You know why? Because it's like, I mean, yes, we took that one picture in front of the dyno. I could have taken like 20, I guess, with Billy and them, all of them. I don't do that because would you go to a good friend and go, hey, let me just take a picture of your face so I can post it on my Facebook so everybody saw I was with you? No. You get what I'm saying? I still would love to go to that race, though, and be a part. But I also don't have guts. I'm so afraid of wrecking the truck. that type of deal. Anyway, going on. My friend just invested $6K to update his crank balancer. I was worth the money, especially on a lightweight crank, I guess. It's not that it's not worth it. Balancing is a critical thing. It's just not every people do it right. It's just like cylinder head porting. A lot of people do it. Does everybody do it right? Robert just joined. What up? You my hero. That's Bob McVeigh. You my hero, Bob. I'm almost done, by the way. It's too bad you just now kicked in. Mike G, is it acceptable if the head shows a crack at the valve guide after replacing the guides? CNC ported heads. Yes. I've had that happen. So here's your scenario, because it's not as bad as what you think it is. So you're like, oh my god, that guy ruined my heads. No, it's not. Usually they leave aluminum around the guide, and it's a vane. Now Brodix, because I'm sure that's what they have had happen. If you ever see a Brodix head, they actually cut a bigger hole around that where the guide goes through, just for the reason that if you get a guide and you have to knock one out and it flares out, it doesn't snap the guide when it comes that way, or that its press is not so tight that it snaps that little aluminum that's just the vane. It provides no structural support. It's just for flow. So it's not the end of the world. Darts are the worst. So there's a dart Big Chief I had to do, and the guide is long, one, and it's got this vane on it. It's on the exhaust side, and it's got a vane that's there. So it's been heat and cooled all this time. So it's brittle aluminum anyway, and it's real thin. So as soon as you drive in the guide, it breaks open. And actually, when it did, it pushed out because it just, as your deal does, it swells up just a little, not a lot. It breaks that off. It just cracks it. But then put the new one in, cracks it. But it's not the end of the world. It goes to nothing as long as it doesn't crack up to the seat pad. Anyway. Mike Frame, have you done anything with quadrajet intake manifolds? I haven't. I'm not knocking quadrajets, but I don't mess with that. Roman, oh man, I can't even say your name. I always watch your videos. Do you port cast iron heads? No, but thanks for the money. My grandpa used to put peanuts in RC cola. You know, I've heard a lot of people do that. I think that's disgusting. Ruin it. If you want more questions, better ask real quick because it's about I'm about to call her quits. And I prefer if you ask more questions. Bob, I need to get up there to Dyno, by the way. I swear to God. So tomorrow I got an awards assembly for my son for a broken arrow. Next Friday I've got one for his swim tall, so that's his club. And then I think I got graduation on May 19th. So, and I think he signed me up to do something for his college. We could go down there and be like, yeah, we know this is a bill. Yes, it's expensive. But anyway, precision guesswork. My dad always drank RC Cola. He said Pepsi was too weak. Coke was too strong. RC is just right. That is true, but every now and then I do like a Coke because it is harder than this. So this doesn't burn as bad. So at least that's my opinion. If you got any more questions, hurry up and ask. I don't want to leave anybody off. So, because I've got to do, and I ordered a set of Brodix heads and they came in. I'm not knocking Brodix. I don't know, it was a miscommunication. They forgot to final mill them. So I got to mill that tonight before I go to bed. So, what's my opinion of Promax heads? Well, I sell plenty of them. I like Promax heads, except for I'm tired of being the technical support for Promax heads. And you're like, well, you sell them. Yeah, the guys I sell them to, I'll give them technical help. I'm tired of people calling me. They bought heads from Promax because they're on their Black Friday sale or whatever sale or whatever else. They're like, hey, what stud girdle fits his head? They didn't know it Promax. You probably didn't even call them. But two, I didn't say the heads. Well, why I got to be their tech support? Do you know what rocker studs this big block Chevy Promax head takes? Didn't it come with it? No, I bought a pair. Who'd you buy it from? Promax. Why you call me? Bill Brennick. Can you put the test the small block oil pans with a crank scraper, I can do that next time. Yours isn't that bad because you got that one piece of oil pan seal. We'll do that next time. I got to drain the oil anyway because it just has that break in the oil. We got to change it. Um, next time we're up. Because Gary watched that one video, I think it was Steve Morris, about the rusting on the camshaft because it had the break in oil in. That kind of spooked. I will say this: it would scare the crap out of you if you guys saw some of these engines that I have, like the Dyno Mule. So, like the 540, ran it and everything like that, right? This is so hard to tell you guys, but if the intake valve's open and the exhaust valve's open, so it's got the overlap, just that weird period, and you take off the carburetor, it will pull in the cool air. This is after it's been ran on the dyno. It'll pull in that cool air and it'll rust that cylinder because it'll start drawing it in. And now because you just drained the water, it's cooler in that area and it rusts that cylinder. Not bad, but you pull off the head and you're like, what is this? And does it affect power? So far, no. I once called Promac tech support and two guys in the background legit got into a fist fight. My guy hung up on me. Well, that's when you know it's good. So I enjoy a good fist fight. So I know Promax has I think they have a hard time hiring people. So that's what's sad. Is I wish some of these places were closer because I think it would help my business grow. Or I could almost merge with some of them or something. Because I'm telling you, I need a secretary. I need someone else just cutting valve jobs and assembling heads. That's two things. They could probably run the mill. Every second I'm not in there grinding, it costs me. So I shouldn't say it costs me, but there's too much to do. Will you port Blueprint big block Chevy heads? They are on a 540. Probably, as long as they're not like the AFR Enforcer heads, and I think they are. Because I just don't think those are very good. I think that's really what Blueprint runs. Not in all their engines, but I think that's what it is. If it is, you just switch, pass, go to a different one. But that's from Kevin Deal. Have you ever done any two-barrel modified engines? Yeah. So when I went to go pick up this engine, that Circle Track engine that's sitting over here, they have a wrecked B mod that's there. His name is Billy Arnold. You can look him up. He ran B mod, and I did his heads, and he didn't do bad. That engine, by the way, sounds bad to the bone too. He's keeping up with the guys. Some of those, obviously, those other guys have way more money. So for those in the drag race world, you probably aren't familiar with this, but they have an A mod for the guys that are supposed to have a lot of money. And they have B mod for the supposed to be the more budget class, right? Problem is, like A mod guys that can't compete in A mod, like they have the money, but they just suck at driving. They'll just go to B mod and then spin everybody. So Billy's had to compete against that. Anyway, he wrecked the car and it's wrecked. It's sitting there and it's got the two barrel on it sitting there right there, the whole engine. And part of me is like, I wonder if I could ask him if I can borrow it to Dyno. Because I'd love to do some testing. Because he's like, I'm done. I'm tired of spending all this money. I'm done. So, Billy, if you're watching, if I could do some dyno testing with that engine, I kind of like to see what it is. Part of me wants to grab his headers because that's another thing I'm going to do with the Circle Track engine too. Is they have a set of bay headers that they ran in the A mod, I think, and the B mod. I think they sold them with the chassis, but the B mod still has his. Billy's does. I'm going to ask if I can't borrow them and see if I can't fit them on the dyno. The reason why is because then I can play with collector links and then also header links because those are adjustables. That will probably be a bigger picture of helping the Circle Track stuff than anything else. Definitely needs to be done on the channel, and I need better gloves to do that because of the heat. But yes, I love Circle Track stuff. If you guys ever want to invite me, you pay my way to come up to wherever you want to. I sound like a rich prick when I say that. But if you guys ever want me to go to a Circle Track race, wherever you are, if it's dirt or whatever, I'll do it. I'm not so crazy about asphalt, nothing against it or nothing like that. But dirt to me, you guys they're badasses. They just are. So, do you remember that time when they put the NASCAR Truck Series in Bristol and they put them on dirt? That was good racing. So, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Eric, where's your moon pie? I actually don't like moon pies. I'll tell you why. That weird marshmallow just tastes weird. Broke Joe builds. Have you experienced with World Merlin 350cc heads? I'd avoid the Merlin stuff. I've never found a good ones. Mike Frame. What's your opinion on flat tappet cam failures? Daniel Powell got so fed up they won't make them anymore. I hate flat tappet cams. So this is the sad part too. It makes kind of people get upset with me. But if you email me or call me and you say I want to buy a set of heads from you, I'm like, all right. And I give you a price. I say, well, do you run a hydraulic roller or solid roller? And like, I run a hydraulic flat tappet or solid flat tappet. I'll say, stop. I'm not going to sell you heads. First thing you need to do is go get a different cam. Get a hydraulic roller cam. Don't get a flat tappet. Just get out of that world. And that usually makes people mad. But I'm like, you get the roller cams first before you get the heads. It's just don't make it. I'm not for it. So I don't. Flat tappet times is gone. The only people that run them are the circle tracks because they still have to. And I think they're starting to phase them out in certain areas, but in our area, it's still flat tappet. And by the way, about the true failures, you should ask Dunsworth. So I don't give enough credit. He built a ton of circle track stuff. That's his primary what he does. He's had them flatten on the dyno when there's nothing, doing the same routines and everything. It's perfect as be. Rhyme or reason doesn't make sense. Rodney O. What plug would you recommend for Brodix heads hunters on the pump gas 1101 377? This is what I ran on almost everything. This should be fine. This is a projected tip though. It's a BKR 7E. That's a 7, so it's somewhat cooler, but that's fine. For a non-projected tip, this is a 9, but I don't even know the part number on this one. But you get this a non-projected tip. Just the 7's fine. I use it for almost everything. You don't like doing completely free technical support? No. James Miller, good old Yellow Belly. We went there in the late 80s. I suggested we stop at Yellow Belly that day and had he declined. Someone was shot and killed there the other day. I never wanted to go there. I just don't understand because I don't understand Yellow Belly for this reason. That Throwdown in H-Town, that's the big race that's here in Hartshorne, Oklahoma, happens on the street. It's bad to bone, right? They almost lost it. I mean, well, the guy was going to stop doing it because the insurance jumped up through the roof, and they didn't have anybody standing on the starting lines. So I don't know how the Yellow Belly insurance has to be even higher because they have people there. And you can't say, well, the insurance company doesn't know. There's enough YouTube videos. Hell, they're filming on the line. I don't understand it. You just asking to lose your track. Needle bearing or bushing lifters. If you have the money for bush lifters, you should do that. Watched a video today, and a guy made the comment that sprint car engine builders are the most off the grid, hardest to contact people in the industry. Do you agree? So there used to be a sprint car engine shop, and if you're in the sprint cars, you'll know what I'm talking about. Westmar. They were here in Oklahoma, right. They were Bixby, kind of. It's another suburb of Tulsa. They weren't that hard to get a hold of, but they're not in business anymore. So I don't know about hard to get a hold of. They actually had a lot of people. I remember someone had said at one time they were paying their guy to build their engine $35 an hour. This was 2005 or so. That's unheard of money. Even now, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good money. Yeah. So I don't know about that. Can somebody 3D print one of them plates or whatever that is? What plates are you talking about, Frank Stein? By the way, the only reason why I'm keeping this going is because I'm delaying working because it's already late at night, but it'll get done regardless. So what, Frank, what plate are you talking about? By the way, I appreciate all 65 of you watching. You're probably doing something else while you're watching. You're probably working on your race car, trying to make it go faster. Totally understand that. So, any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to call it quits. Flow bench plate. No. No, you'd want to have it on billet aluminum so it's flat, so it seals upright. You could, not saying you couldn't, but I wouldn't do it. I'm literally working on my race car right now. Must be nice. I have four Camaro of mine sits in the shop. It ain't been raced in 2 years. Brand new tires sitting over here over a year. It's pains. I don't know about the rest of you guys, and you could put this in the comments since you're just listening and probably working on other stuff at the same time. Do you guys actually get nervous whenever you're racing the car? Because I say that I literally like 2 years ago, I took the truck out like 6 times, the Camaro out twice, and it was only for like to get rid of that fear. So it's like I get so nervous up there, like it's usually just me. I'm trying to get all strapped in. I'm worried. I'm not even so much worried that the car will break. I'm just like, this is such a pain in the rear. I gotta go up and wait in the staging lanes. I'm gonna be hot. The car's probably not gonna do what it wants, and then it doesn't do what I want because I made it wished it to reality. And then it's just like test and tune, so there's nothing real point. Can't win anything. And I'm nervous as could be. That's why I was so hoping that Bishop would take over the driving duties. So he's only recently even started getting nervous when he swims at the starts, but for most part he's cool as could be, and it's like perfect for what a driver needs to be. But I don't think I was ever meant to be a driver. I actually tried circle track. This is how you know when you don't belong on circle track driving. I think it was 17, by the way, when I did it. So younger than my son now. It was factory stock. When you're 2 laps down in a 5 lap race, time to call quits. It ain't for you, buddy. And I wouldn't say I'm a bad driver at the drag racing, but I like it. I like the way it feels, but it's not. I rarely ever get to compete. I actually even thought about taking the Camaro out just to do bracket racing. But anyway, I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are. Do you drink beer or just RC? Mike Frame. So I'm going to open up because I know no one's going to watch the rest of this anyway. So I'll tell you exactly what I do. I don't actually drink beer that often. So it's pretty rare. Let me explain. So there's guys that will come home and have a beer after work. That ain't me. Even when I wasn't working this, that ain't me. Partly because I never wanted to be around my son drinking when he was younger. And the other thing, I was a teacher. So when I first started teaching, they were like, if you get caught at a bar or something and say one of the parents were there, they could report you to the school board and you get fired for moral turpitude. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. They became more lax with that as the years progressed. But anyway, when I would go to Engine Masters, because everybody saw me drink there, I'm sure, I would drink there. Even when I go to PRI, I drink there. I don't mind drinking at all. But one of my favorite things now, and this has been for a while, the neighbor right here on this side, we'll go to Brother Hooligans. It's an Irish pub, but not really a pub. It's a restaurant that also has a bar. And I will get Irish car bombs. Those are my favorite drink. So when we went to Ireland, Europe, I tried getting that everywhere. It turns out they're not as popular there, I guess. But I like those because I can time it to the minute when it's going to take effect, and I'll time it to the minute when it will stop being effective. And it's not because I need it for anything. So I'm not using that as alcohol as a way to help me or whatever. It tastes good, one, and it just kind of relaxes the moment. But if someone said, you want to come have a beer with me or something? Yes. But here's the other thing. And this is probably the reason why I rarely ever drink. I will never drink and drive. So even if I'm 242 pounds, even if I have one beer, I will not drive, even though you're well safe in the legal limit. Still, will never do it. It's like one of the things I hold steady to. So that's what makes it worse, is because like I will go get the Irish car bombs because I know Carrie, my wife, is driving me. But there's not many places where like I'm going to go have a beer with my buddies, because then I got to think of how I'm going to get home because I won't drive. So, and that's me. But nice cold beer is pretty good. Pretty good. Flow bench plate, I think. I'm literally working on a race car now, Bill Brenning. I I enjoy the rest of your night, Eric. Thank you. Hell yeah, I get nervous, afraid I'm going to break something. I'm not even scared I'm going to break something, because at this point, like I, that's why I kind of hated the engine build till it got to the dyno and you start running, you're fine. I'm not even so afraid it's going to break when I'm at the racing. I'm just like, the whole thing feels uncomfortable. When Kurt redid my Camaro, I couldn't tell you how happy I was, because before, I swear to God, I was like this, just folded up in that, and I was wearing a suit and the windows wouldn't roll down, just hot as hell. And then for like 5 seconds of run time or whatever, um, yeah, I just didn't. That's why I was like, I really should go back to try doing circle track. But then they break, you got to wreck and break stuff. But now the Camaro, I'm relaxed in it. It's still hot, but I get pretty nervous. Nervous until I do a burnout, then calm down and focus. I also feel like time. There already is a time machine. It's called a race car, because the minute you get in it, like, and you're up there at the line, everything is speeding way up until the light goes green. Then everything slows way down. It's a weird thing. And I know you're like, what do you mean? You do the burnout, you think you're going really, really slow doing it. And in reality, when you're watching the playback, it was pretty short. So the time's going faster than what you think it is. But then once you hit the let off the button, everything slows down. So like, everything is happening in slower, even though in reality you're going really fast and things are happening within a split second. Um, Hot Rod Ray, I'm watching intently and reading comments. Swimming is like that, but as soon as you hit the water, it's gone. Strange feeling. I'd say that too, though. But now to get up, I wasn't really fearful of swimming or the water or nothing like that. I was afraid I couldn't make it to the end. But now I'm doing it so much, it's gotten better. I am entering a swim competition in June. I'm actually going to try it for 50. I'm going to finish dead last, but the goal is to finish the thing. Lucille Payne. First run of the day, my pulse is around 100 before the water box. Calm down for the rest of the day after that. I actually get more upset, unless it's just going better. Cecil is the guy that helps me at the track sometimes. God, he's the best man to be there for that. Perfect. Like, calms me down, gets everything perfect. Everybody needs that. Funny, me too. I don't think others got nervous. I didn't think so either, because like I look at people around me, they're like, just get them a jacket, helmets up. Like, even when you watch like Old Man's Garage and all their kids are like, no big deal, just gonna leave no jacket on. Me, I'm like, glove, strap around, fold and pray. 3 taps, let's go. And it's usually like, let's slow. Anything special to describe when requesting a custom V6 cam versus V8? Don't ask me for a V6 cam. No insulting the Irish. I actually love the Irish. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with any of the people around the world. That's what sucks. I think the governments create that. So there's not like a group of people I'm like, I hate you all. So I'm being honest. Like, if they're talking to me, it's because they're the same reason I'd be talking to them. So they're good people. Like, I have nothing against Australia. I don't. That's what makes it worse. Like, even China now, like, I don't know any Chinese. I can't just hate you because you're Chinese. That seems racist. Um, I don't know. Just me. And you're like, well, they're doing this and this. Are they doing it because their government said made them do it, and then they got to go to some prison camp if they don't? So is it their fault? I don't know. I know I'm talking weird on doing that, but I like all people except for drivers. I hate most of the drivers. Bracket race. I had a lot of fun even with a slow car. John Matone. The only time I get nervous is the time between staging and when the lights come down. I'm just sitting there, free revving with my manual trans Mopar. That's the worst. When you're like, I'm ready to go, and this jackhole right next to you is like, I'm just gonna take my time. And you're like, I can't take this nerves anymore. Just pull up to the light. I've been at the first pre-stage forever. You just did that, you dick. I looked over. You looked like you were moving forward before I got in here. I used to blow the spider gears in a million places on the 8 3/4 rear gear running Linko Trans. I would love. That's what I really wish the Camaro had was a Linko or a Liberty. Actually, a Liberty. Damn it! I don't care if it's slow. It's cool. You know what you mean, John. Growing closer to 11 p.m. where I'm at, I'm going to sign off. Thanks, Mark Whittinson. Have a good evening. I probably should be signing off too. Then, as I raced more swimming, as soon as the guy went off, everything goes quiet, just stroking away. No Irish car bomb is offensive to many Irish people. Is it? I didn't know that. That's literally the name of the drink. It's got you got a glass. It's probably this big. I didn't know that. I really didn't. That's really what they call the drink. It's like this big up cup, and they fill it halfway with Guinness. Although one time they ran out of Guinness, so they had to give me some other dark beer. How does an Irish restaurant run out of Guinness? Whatever. And then you got a shot, and it's got like Bailey's and something, some other liquor in it. I don't remember. But what you do is you take that shot and you drop it in, and you just hammer it. Gone in 30 seconds. But I didn't know it was offensive. Yeah, I've never. We want to take a trip to Ireland. Carrie and I, that's my wife, because we went for a tour of Europe, and I did a. This was several years ago. I did a whole video about this, and I know I'm going off because I know there's only 51 people watching, but I try to give you more information than even racing. So for my 20th anniversary, I'd saved forever, and we went on this tour of Europe. This was right after COVID. That's the only way I could even afford it too. Thank you, COVID, for making the prices cheaper. But we went to. It was a 2-week thing. So we started off in England, went to France, Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Italy, back to France, and then we left. We went to the Vatican City also too. And so from my experience in Europe, I could tell you this, and because I know most of my fans are Americans.